Hey guys, it's Ray Davis with Bridge to the Future, the show where we look at the human past, the human present, and the human future, looking for better ways for humanity to move forward. I want to start this evening by sending out positive vibes to all the people out there who are suffering with this COVID-19 disease and the people who love them and care about them. This is a difficult time for all of us, but especially for those of you who are going through this right now. And I wish nothing but the best outcome for every single one of you. This evening, the world is watching a high-profile case of COVID-19 with the hospitalization and then move to the intensive care unit of British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Now, whether or not you are a fan of Boris Johnson politically or not really is not the issue. I think we can all understand the gravity of the situation when a leader of a major country is in intensive care suffering with this disease. So also sending thoughts and prayers out to the British people and to the Prime Minister and his family as well. I want to talk about the mindsets that I see developing around this whole situation. And one of the goals of this show is to really focus on the things that we can do as human beings to make the world better for all of us and for ourselves. And I see two rather extreme philosophies at work out in the world right now around this crisis and this situation that we find ourselves in. They're not new mindsets. They're mindsets that we encounter every day, but I think they're put into real stark contrast to each other when we face a situation like the one we're facing right now. One of these is the tendency to believe everything that you hear from mainstream media, the government, official sources. And the other one is to believe nothing you hear from those sources. And both of these ideas, I think, suffer from a common problem. That problem is that both of them give up the ability to reason, to think, to use our wisdom and our discernment in each situation to determine what's really going on in the world. Now, those of us who pay attention to the world know that our media, our leaders, have a really bad track record, and they've really earned the mistrust of the people in many ways, not just here in the United States, but in countries across the world. They don't level with us. They often treat us like children. They always seem to be looking for ways to gain more control over our lives, and it's something that we all need to be aware and awake to. And in a situation like this, quite frankly, the people who want to do that are alive and well and kicking and really trying to find ways probably to implement that concept of the world upon all of us. And we really need to be careful of that. So there is some healthy skepticism of the establishment, of the information we're getting. Is it sensationalized? Is it over the top? Is it not really giving us all the truth? Is it not giving us the deep analysis on what's going on that would really allow us to kind of triangulate what is going on? And I know I've been frustrated, and I've talked to a number of people in the last few days who are equally frustrated, that it's really hard to know what's going on in this situation. We know that a lot of people are sick, a lot of people are dying, but we really don't know what's going on. You know, I saw an article today in a Thai medical journal talking about the fact that if you look at the peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed research, the people who are looking into this disease, they found that there are now 49 strains of the disease, and that they've mutated and that they've changed, and that any treatment that would be developed for one version of COVID would not necessarily work for all of them because of changes in the RNA and the proteins. And I won't go into all the details, but there are changes in the virus that are happening that would make a single bullet type of cure probably not probable. And yet this isn't really being talked about at all in the media. And this article was really, really good because it was asking, why is this not being talked about when this is what's being talked about among people who are researching the disease? So you have a situation where people believe what comes out of the news, they believe what comes out of the politicians, and they take that as kind of a gospel. And the other side, you have people who anything that those sources are saying is automatically false, it's automatically deceptive, it's automatically not true. I saw a video last night on YouTube of someone who'd put together videos that people had sent in showing citizen journalists walking around to hospitals in New York and showing that there was absolutely nothing going on. there seems to be a small cadre of people that not only don't want to believe anything that comes from the establishment, that it's all a deception, it's all an attempt to steal our rights, it's all an attempt to bring in some sort of a new world order, but they also seem to want to prove that this virus is not real. And I find that really anti-intellectual. I think it's very true, as I said a moment ago, that there are forces who may want to do nefarious things and may use a situation like this to implement their plans. And that's something that we all need to be vigilant about during this crisis and after. Because as we know, and we learned after 9/11, when they put these new rules in place, they never roll them back. We're still living with the USA Patriot Act, which is completely against the US Constitution. And yet it's been renewed by Congress multiple times because it has to come up for review every few years, and both Democrats and Republicans have constantly renewed it. And that's something that's totally unconstitutional. And I'm certain that we'll see some moves to do some things after this crisis, maybe with good reasons in some instances, but that will attempt to try to burden our freedom. But let me say this to you. Neither of these approaches, this everything that comes from the experts is true and nothing that comes from the experts is true, is a wise path. You know, one of my mentors from afar is an individual that is known the world over even today, even though he lived 2,500 years ago, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. And he came up with a concept called the middle way. In his own search for truth, the Buddha found that extremes tend not to lead to wisdom. They tend not to lead to happiness. They tend not to lead to enlightenment. They tend to lead to clinging and dogmatism. And when I see people taking these extreme views in this situation, I'm reminded of this middle way. The middle way is a path where you're not tethered to dogmas, you're not tethered to reactionary thinking. And in a way, both the conformity of always listening to the establishment and the conformity of always rejecting what the establishment says, even to your own detriment at times, are both tethers. They're both ways to cling to dogmas. What we need to do in this situation is to use our minds to discern what really is going on to the best extent that we can and figure our way through it. That's what an enlightened, wise being does. The middle path is without extremes. It doesn't automatically accept this side or this side. It goes kind of straight down the middle. But it's not a sellout of values, as some might think. You know, some might think, if you're not listening to the scientists in this situation, that that's a sellout of some kind. Others might think if you're listening to anyone in the establishment at all, that's a sellout of some kind. The middle way does not sell out your values. The middle way is actually you being you. It's you thinking for yourself. It's you saying, I'm going to take this part of this over here as truth, and I'm going to take this part of this over here as truth, and I'm going to form my own opinion and my own truth. Neither of these groups are forming their own opinion about this situation. You can't do that if you're automatically believing everything or you're believing nothing. Both of those are forms of mental conformity that don't lead to wisdom, they don't lead to enlightenment, and they won't bring us through this situation in a positive way. What I call on everyone to do is think through the situation with all the information that you have and make your own decisions. Now, I'll lay out for you where I am on this. I think that this virus is a real thing. I don't think this is any type of a hoax or a joke. I think it's an absolutely real thing that's happening out there in the world. I think it's a threat to all of us. I think there really is a wolf at our door. So when I see people over here automatically assuming because the establishment's telling us this, that it's some sort of a ploy for something else, I find that not very intellectual. But also we can't ignore the fact that there are people that want to change the world in very negative ways towards our freedoms. And we have to take that into account as well. So the best we can do when we're walking the middle path, the middle way, is to synthesize all the information we have, use the wisdom that we have within us, use the experience that we have, stop and listen, meditate, pray, get quiet, think about what's going on, think about the path through it, and you will see the path open up. Whether we're talking about spiritual enlightenment or just navigating our days right now in this odd situation, the middle way offers us a way to be ourselves completely, without apology, but not to give in to easy reactionary dogmas on either side. We need thinking people right now, not people who are just seeing the world through the lens that they've always seen it through. In fact, every challenge that we face is also an opportunity. And this situation is an opportunity as well. But it's going to take, as Albert Einstein talked about, a new level of thinking to change the world the way it is. And neither of these extremes are a new way of thinking. They're actually a product of the world that is, not the world that can be. I hope that all of you are safe. I hope that all of you are well. I hope that all of you are taking time for yourselves to be with your loved ones as much as you can, and that you're taking this opportunity right now to be more fully you than ever before. This is Ray Davis with Bridge to the Future. Everybody have a great evening, and I will talk to you again soon.